All right, so we're joined here by Barstool founder Dave Portnoy, known as El Presidente. Prez, thanks for joining. So,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no problem. I've been seeing it all over the place, this Barstool Fund. I guess to start off, just tell me, what is it, and how did it start?
So basically, I went on a rant. Even though I'm a Boston guy, I'm living in New York City, and much like actually Boston, Massachusetts, they shut down indoor dining, and I ranted and raved, which is what I tend to do, and I've been doing for a while, about how I didn't know how these small businesses, restaurants, bars were going to survive. They were already on their last legs, and now they can't even have indoor dining. They can't serve. They can't do what they do, and yet the government really wasn't giving them any money to sustain them. So it's like, all these places are going to go out of business. So I ranted, raved, and then somebody called me out and like, "Hey, buddy, why don't you put your money where your mouth is?" And I thought about it. I'm like, "All right, yeah, that you're right." So I donated $500,000 of my own money, and we started this fund called the Barstool Fund, which is basically geared towards small business, and we're trying to give them money directly and quickly to help them survive till this pandemic is over. So that's pretty much how it started, and it resonated with people. So I think we're about 2 weeks in, a little less than 2 weeks, and we just hit the $20 million mark for money raised.
And that's awesome. So, tell me, how'd you hear of Atlas Kitchen and Pub in Chicopee, and what made you want to help that business specifically?
So they submitted, and we like the story. A lot of what we look for is businesses that have a proven track record of success. So the only thing that changed was the pandemic. And then we assume if we can help sustain them until the pandemic's over, they'll go back to doing what they do, which is being successful. So the Atlas story spoke to us. Obviously, Massachusetts-based companies always have a soft spot for me. So it just seemed like a good fit for us.
And what was that like, that conversation with Bill? I actually saw you post it on one of your social media platforms. What was that like, seeing him getting the call and, getting that much needed relief and seeing that emotion that's been involved with a lot of these business owners?
Yeah, the calls starts funny. The first one we helped, or second, like Liz Gonzalez, who's been instrumental with us going through the emails and the application, she's like, "Hey, Dave, this bar owner is a huge fan of yours. You should surprise and FaceTime them." So I did. We weren't recording, but the reaction was so like visceral and so emotional. I knew I had to capture it. So we've been doing that since then because that's what's driving the donations. You can see the relief basically wash away, or the burden wash away from these people, and how relieved they are that they're going to be able to survive this. And finally, somebody's looking at them and seeing them be like, "Hey, we want to help." So anytime we place the calls to these owners, including Atlas, it's a pretty emotional moment.
And you mentioned it before, I know you're a big Massachusetts guy, just a big New England guy overall. I know you want to help anyone from anywhere, but does it mean a little bit more when you help out someone from your home state?
Yeah, totally. In fact, it's like I almost have to be conscious that I just don't do Boston and Massachusetts companies because that's where I'm from. I'm partial to it. There's so many different connections to me from there because that's where I grew up on the North Shore. Barstool Sports spent, most of our history there. So, yeah, everyone knows me through somebody, but we are trying to help the entire country. But yes, it means more probably to me when it's a local company, at least my local.
Now, I understand the way this fund works. It's not, you just send them a bunch of money and say, here you go. From watching your other interviews, you're helping them throughout the pandemic, correct?
Yeah, so the business, bar, restaurant tells us how much they need on a monthly basis, and we'll be with them through the duration of this pandemic. Because what's the point of giving a bar, Atlas, a check, and then in 3 months later they're right back in the same spot because the pandemic's going on. So once you're in the fund, we'll reach out every month, connect with you, say, "What do you need? Do you still need this?" until they can go back to business as usual.
Awesome. And I guess what's been your favorite part throughout this whole thing?
I don't, it's definitely the reactions from the businesses. Like I had a place in San Francisco. It's been around since 1830. It's the oldest bar tavern west of the Mississippi. And they actually have now, they're like, we're naming January 6th Dave Portnoy Day. It's surreal. It's just surreal. So being able to actually see the people we're helping and how much it means to them, and how desperate their situation is, and being able to really help with that, it has been moving. It can't not be moving.
And I guess, is there an ultimate goal at the end of this? Or are you guys just going to keep riding it out just for as long as you can?
As long as we can get the donations coming in. They are starting to slow down, so I have my fundraising hat back on. As long as we can get more money, there's never going to be a shortage of businesses. We have a line coming out the door of people who need help. So we really are just still trying to pound the pavement, get people to donate, and we're going 100 miles per hour trying to increase how many businesses we can help.